Sorry. Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of Tony Plays The Binding of Isaac. Had to adjust my microphone. I hope you guys are doing good. Honestly, today I have done nothing. Literally, I'm not even joking. I think jack shit all day except for maybe... I don't know what I'm saying, except for maybe, like, I didn't just do this a little bit ago. I finished up the last of my fucking classes for the week, so honestly, I'm feeling kind of froggy, brother, you know? You feel me? Picking up what I'm putting down. And because of that, I think I'm gonna decide, let's play a character that I don't totally 100% hate. Let's play Tainted Apollyon. Because he's kind of like... No offense to Tainted Apollyon, he's like a little bit of a mid character, but he's just mid enough for me to be fine with it, you feel me? But yeah, besides that, you know, class done and whatnot, I don't have to worry about any more tests or whatever, which, by the way, absolutely freaking aced them. Because, like, you know, I low-key locked in. I'll be real with y'all. Doing these classes and stuff like that again, it kind of had me a little bit locked in. I was learning about all different kinds of like shit over these courses, like, oh, I got one. All right, I got one. Here's some knowledge for y'all. Some underrated ball knowledge, dare I say. The knowledge was in regards to fakes, not fakes in the pharmacy. That's a whole different one. Opiates in regards to stuff like that. More specifically, I guess, in regards to what is known as an IMF or IMFs. For the uninitiated, unaware, you know, probably first time ever hearing what the hell is an IMF. You know, I've never heard of that shit before. IMF is what's known as illicitly manufactured fentanyl. And I had learned over this, you know, course deal, apparently that's just like, what's the word I'm thinking of? Not common per se, but it's something that I'm pretty sure we're all aware of in the US at least. About like, there is obviously like an opioid slash fentanyl epidemic in regards to people getting laced with that shit, or just overall developing like a crazy hard drug habit when it comes to opiates and whatnot. It's pretty, what's the word I'm thinking of? I don't want to say the word wicked because that comes with like, it's wicked but not in the good way, you know what I mean? It's like, wow, this was information that I really wish I didn't know about. You feel me? That's how this shit had me feeling. But I mean, hey, I needed to learn, you know? I needed to learn at some point, and today was that day, I guess, or yesterday at this point. Anyways, all this aside, all right, all this aside, learning about this, it was low-key a little bit crazy to learn that not only do people out there like unironically and actually lace their shit with IMFs and things like that, but it's also, what's it called? I had learned, I guess, the history of regards of synthetic opioids, which was genuinely kind of crazy to learn about, because I don't know why I didn't guess this, or maybe I don't know, you know? I was aware, I'm pretty sure it's like, not common knowledge, but it might be more well known than, you know, most, but I was aware of the fact that opioids were like sort of related to poppy seeds, you know? Like poppy seeds were kind of the basis for some opioids and whatnot. Learning that, I was like, yeah, you know, like I remember hearing about that way long ago. Back when I was a little bit younger, because I had learned, I forgot what it was, but it was something in regards to like some dude got caught up in a drug test, and like he like the claims were like, oh, I just had a what's it called? I just had some like a poppy seed bagel or whatever. And then I remember like asking my dad, being like, what like what's up with that, you know, poppy seed bagel? And then he kind of explained to me that was the case, and I was just like, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, it's like you hear about it and you're like, that's real interesting, but that's like a weird, fun, or maybe odd fact that you find out ancient times. You know what I mean? You find that out. I found that out at least like pretty while back. But yeah, for the uninitiated, there are normal opioids, which are like natural, which is, you know, formulated usually out of something like a poppy seed or whatever. And then there's synthetic opioids, which that is the one I was unaware of. Truth be told, that was the one that I was unaware of, and I had only recently found out, I guess, that I didn't know fentanyl. I knew it existed. I didn't know it was a synthetic opioid. You know what I mean? And you might be thinking, what the fuck is a synthetic opioid? What kind of differentiates that from like a normal opioid, Tony? It's the fact that it is not natural in any way. You know, there's the regular opioids I was talking about, or things that have like opioid-like properties, which, you know, poppy seeds do. But fentanyl is completely like, it's just a man-made, manufactured chemical. You know what I mean? Like, that shit doesn't exist in the natural world. Fentanyl is something that was created by people. I was unaware of this, personally. And so finding out about it, I was like, oh, that's odd. Pretty interesting, though. Let me see, you know, what else? What other info? What other knowledge bombs do we got dropping here? And let me tell y'all, there was some crazy knowledge bombs I was not expecting. All right, like one thing that I remember reading about in the article, it was just kind of crazy to me, was the fact that, what's the word I'm thinking of? Not only are there like synthetic opioids, you know, IMFs, or not IMF, but fentanyl, but then there's like a subsection of that called IMFs, which I told y'all about, illicitly manufactured fentanyl, which are essentially just like the homemade crazy shit. And learning about what some of these things were / are, I'm not gonna lie to you, was kind of fucking crazy. Like, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there are, sorry, I was trying to not get hit, multiple different IMFs like that exist out there. So one of them is like carfentanil, and then there's other, like, usually they kind of sound almost exactly the same as fentanyl, but there was one that was explained in that usually these IMFs are harder to treat when it comes to what's it called? Things like naloxone. For the uninitiated, naloxone is what is known as, like, I believe, an opioid antagonist, which essentially will grab onto the receptors in your brain and not do anything. They'll like won't activate, which essentially stops them from, stops opioids or anything like that, opiates, from latching onto those receptors and then, you know, firing off all crazy style and shit. So because naloxone prevents that, it's used to help in ODs. So anyways, regardless of all this shit, all right, learning that these IMFs are like so potent, so crazy strong because of, you know, one, they're not normally made or whatever, like these are illicit, but two, they're also used in lacing other like things, you know what I mean? That's what makes it hard to treat an OD, because an OD works by, or like you know, treating an OD in, with, oh god damn it, I forgot the name immediately. Naloxone, you know, it's an antagonist. It freaking blocks the receptors. But then you got these other things that are laced in there that are just all kinds of different crazy chemical compounds. Like, let me tell y'all about this one. All right, there is this one. Goes by the name of xylazine, which when I read that it's insanely difficult to treat in OD patients because of the fact that it, what's the word I'm thinking of? Because of the fact that at least as of when the article was written, there is no like human antidote for it. Might be thinking, what the fuck does that mean? That means like we got nothing to just stop it, bro. There's no way, I guess, to really try to help alleviate its symptoms or anything because we just don't have an antidote for it, which is like, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. When I read that sentence, unironically, no joke, when I read that sentence in the article I was reading, my jaw dropped. I was genuinely like, how? How does something like this get made? How is this legal? This is crazy. You know what I mean? You're telling me there's just a chemical out there that people are just like, yeah, we just don't know how to fucking deal with it. So like, it's just kind of hard to treat. And it's like, yeah, no shit, it's hard to treat, but like nothing? We got no knowledge? Nothing on it? It was crazy to find out, bro. Here, I took even more notes. Hold on. Give me a second. Oh God, I left my notebook. Okay, hold on. I left my notebook downstairs. I have the data. No, I don't have the data, but I got the notes that I took down for this article. So one major thing that I had written down was synthetic opioids, primarily IMFs, are now the most common case of overdose deaths, often combined with other drugs. So, illegally manufactured fentanyl is the cause of the most overdose-related deaths, and it's because of the fact that it's cut with other shit, or other shit is cut with it, which is like, you know what I mean, man? It's like that how? I've kind of always wondered why, I guess. Why? Like, look, I'm no drug dealer or nothing, you feel me? But you would think, I guess, if you wanted to like keep a like what's the word I'm thinking of? You know what I mean? Drugs, like if you get people hooked on drugs or whatever and you're a drug dealer, like you got like a built-in returning customer, you know what I mean? So why would you like lace your shit and get them killed or something? Because I also, you know, did see some other stuff in regards to opioids, such as like opioid intolerance or dependence and things like, or opioid tolerance, not opioid intolerance, but you know, things like people taking so many opioids that they start to need like a harder dose, higher hits, in order to be able to like actually do anything or whatever. And it you know, like you would think with most things, that's kind of understandable, I guess. That's how a lot of that kind of deal works. People do the same thing with caffeine and whatnot. You drink too much caffeine a day. I know some people out there that are like, oh, I drink like 3 cups of coffee a day, and it's like, my guy, 3 cups of coffee? That's a crazy like caffeine dependence. You feel me? But that's the way it works with some of this shit. It's just like a dependence, you know, or or tolerance, I should say. At a certain point, you just start to get resistant. Your body, literally, your body gets used to having this high of like of a caffeine level, or you know, used to having this much MME in you or whatever, that eventually you just, what's the word I'm thinking of? You just start, it starts affecting you way less. And then you end up with what's it called? You end up with the other shit, like someone who needs to just, you know, I'm talking crazy high opiate doses, or just straight up like their shit's just starting to get laced or whatever. You feel me? Don't run. Don't run. Don't run. Don't run. You fuck. It was just like, you know what I mean? I feel like I keep saying like. It's just crazy, I guess. Learning all these stats and whatnot. You know what I mean, bro? Like, what else do we got here? Yeah, agonist, partial agonist, antagonist. I went over that a little bit. Then you get dependence, and there's OUD, which is like a whole different even thing. Opioid use disorder. I didn't even know that was like a real disorder or whatever, but I guess, you know, makes sense. Yeah, fentanyl mixed in with other drugs is responsible for 70% of overdose deaths. 70! My voice cracked horrible, but 70%, bro. And because of certain, I guess not law changes, but like classification changes, and also an intake or an increase in opiate marketing itself by like the companies, it led to right then and there, just straight up, led to an increased prescribing of opiates, which, you know, highly addictive substance. When you increase prescriptions for it, all of a sudden you start getting more and more people hooked on the shit. You feel me? It's just it's really like an attack from all angles sort of deal. You feel me? It really is just like an attack from all angles sort of deal when it comes to, you know what I mean? Like it's prescribed in unfortunately higher quantities, or just overall it was often way more prescribed, and then now you got people out there that like are choosing to lace it or use it to lace other drugs and whatnot, and it's just like, what are we doing, man? Something needs to change here. Now, obviously, this is not like Tony story time or anything like that. Like, I don't know what needs to change. Hello, Lay. Like, I don't know what needs to change, I guess, when it comes to opiates and whatnot, but it's just crazy, I guess. You know, learning all this stuff was just kind of insane and a little bit wicked. And it's just like, man, that's damn, you know what I mean, bro? Just damn. It's just odd. Overall, just a little Springay, you know, something like that, whatever you want to call it. Ooh, hold on. He's kind of goated at dodging. Alright, let's get this over with. Yeah, let me see. Oh, hold on. I wonder if I wrote down any of the other synthetic opiates that are illicitly manufactured. What does that say? Epidemic contributes to social fragmentation, widespread stigma, less productivity or loss of productivity, and also economic hardship. So not only is it just like a bad thing that this is an opioid epidemic just for like people taking it, but as a whole, it hurts relationships. People that would be perfectly normal start giving into it, and then we lose productivity as a whole. It's just quite a nuisance, honestly, dare I say. NAS? Oh god, I didn't write what that was. Oh, I remember. Oh my god, I forgot what the NAS stands for, but it was like a syndrome in infants that immediately rose post I want to say it was 2000, and the number is kind of like horrifying. Someone look up NAS in infants, and then you know what I mean, like you'll understand what I'm talking about here. But let me read y'all this stat that I had also read it and picked up from the article. It was kind of crazy. Let me escape first. Just know it might be higher than you think. all right? This number might be higher than you think and not in a good way. Hold on. Wait, twin, he's locked in. Ooh, wait, he's locked in. Okay, come on. Can this go any slower? All right. Ooh, weave. All right, perfect. I'm now able to read this stat here. So NAS rose among infants from... My bad. NAS rose among infants from opioid using mothers by more than 380% from 2000 to 2012. Mind you, 2000 to 2012. Bro, I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Message so goated, Lay had to say it twice? What up, Tony Derogatory? Hello? It's just like, brother, you know what I mean? You would see the numbers. You'd see the chat didn't show anything. No, I don't have chat disabled right now. My fault, OG. But it's just, what's the word I'm thinking of, dog? You know, it's like you would think, given this information, given all of this knowledge or whatever, you would think, man, maybe we should do something about this, like opioid epidemic or something like that, right? But no, we don't. Instead, we're over here tackling some other BS, and it's like, brother, we got a problem like inside. You feel me? I don't want to be that guy that's like, your problem is less important than this problem, but this is genuinely a problem that affects everyone. Society, brother. And learning about it, you know, picking up this knowledge, it was just like, it's cursed. It's cursed knowledge that maybe I shouldn't have because I don't want to have it. I don't want to know that, you know, like this horrible infant syndrome had risen 300% among mothers because of just opioids being overprescribed and getting people hooked and addicted on that shit. You know what I mean, man? I know it might be kind of crazy. Tony's not really into hearing about that or seeing that happen to like people. It's crazy. Here, I'm gonna look it up right now. I'm actually gonna look up what NAS is because my ass forgot to write it down. Neonatal abstinence syndrome. That's what it is. Withdrawal symptoms after birth because they were exposed to certain substances, most commonly opioids in the wombs. So essentially that means like babies be coming out already off rip, bro. Babies be coming out off rip like needing a fix. It's what? You know what I mean? You're telling me that's just that rose so much? Yeah, hearing about opioids and whatnot, that was honestly, that's gotta be one of the craziest. I think out of all the articles that I had read these past couple days, I think that's gotta be one of the crazier ones, in my opinion, you know? Just hearing about that, hearing that that's a thing, that's happening, that's going on. It just, to me, is like, wow, a lot of this seems like knowledge that maybe should be acted upon or something like that. You feel me? It's just odd. It's just crazy. I guess it's really, at the end of the day, that's really what just Tony's just trying to say, is that all this is odd and crazy and we should ogle, like we should ogle it. At it, whatever. My words are hard, shut up. You know what I mean? We should look upon these people not with understanding or care, but we should look upon them with the social stigma that yes, these people are addicts and they cannot be saved. Even ironically, that didn't feel good to say. Has Tony broken the compassionate barrier? Has Tony become more of a human than ever before? I feel like an older Tony might just joke about anything. You feel me? But now you got my ass being like, nah, we can't say that. Or maybe it's the Twitch and YouTube protectors, you know? Maybe it's the Twitch and YouTube overlords that are scaring me into not speaking my truth, dare I say. Also shouldn't be saying that. But you know what? I do it anyways. Because Twitch sucks. Twitch fucking hell site, bro. Incinerate, dog. Alright, let's get my ass over with here. You can't be allowed to do that, right, bro? You can't just be allowed to spawn a copy of yourself like that, dog. Fucking guy, I swear to God. What a fucking A. But I don't know, man. I don't know. What other... I was reading up on some other shit too. Antimicrobials was, I think, definitely one of the more interesting ones besides the opiate one. There were a few of them that I found to be quite profound and very interesting. The opioid, or the opiates one, obviously, you guys just hear me went on a fucking tangent about that. Honestly, after beating a boss, we still got some boss fights in us, so let's go with that. And then we'll hold this for corpse. Which might be a little stupid, but nah, I believe in us. I believe we can make it to corpse. Hey, chill out. Chill out. Antimicrobial one was definitely a real interesting article. I'm gonna be real with y'all. Uninitiated / unaware, I might be thinking, what the fuck is this antimicrobial thing you're talking about? So, as you guys might know, alright, Tony knowledge dropping again. Who would have guessed? There are these great things that were manufactured / created called antibiotics. They all stem from things with antimicrobial properties, aka things that just as a whole deter / fight off bacteria, whether it be by some mechanism or another. You know what I mean? So, off rip, one of these, like I'm talking, some of these were found ancient times, bro. Here, let me see this. Oh, going through the notes again. No, that is a different one. What is this one? Voluntary. Oh, this is the patient sharing medications thing. That's counterfeit drugs on the rise. That one was a little bit less interesting. Here we are. Antimicrobials. So, where is it, man? Where is it? TB, all right, tuberculosis, like one of the oldest bacterias known to man. One of the oldest bacterial infections known to man, tuberculosis. From my documentation here, that shit was, I'm talking, it's so ancient, it was out here being found in mummies, bro. Ancient Egypt mummies had hints of TB, like traces of TB still on them. You know how old that is, bro? That's crazy. You're telling me we had people in ancient Egypt, Cleopatra times type shit? We had people like them out here. Speed, yeah, I need that. With tuberculosis, it's like, oh, I already been here, yeah, I forgot. That's like one of the longest standing, what's it called? One of the longest standing bacterium infections that exist out there. All right, but you know what they did? You know what they did though? Is that they had also been using this shit. What is this called, man? Streptomyces, whatever. And there's traces of like tetracycline and shit from use of that. So not only were they out here dealing with like ancient, what's it called? Ancient ass, evil ass, like biblical levels of 1.5, and that's okay. So I forgot I forgot that would eat Pandora's box. I'm a fucking moron, man. Okay, anyways. Also, along, you know, just the fact that there are these ancient bacteria that exist and are still like something that plagues life today. But on top of that, you also had them fighting this bacteria with their own methods, you know? As for one that I have dropped, these streptomyces having traces of tetracycline in them, which is an antibiotic, you know? And then from like the 1940s to the 1960s, you got things like the discovery of penicillin and other shit, you know? Unironically, literally like verbatim in the notes written down, the 1940s to the 1960s, that was what is known as the golden era, like the gilded age of antibiotic, antimicrobial discoveries, you know? That's the type of shit that was like good for society, bro. Now, granted, as with most things, I guess, like when you have such a gilded age, have such a boom of discoveries and whatnot, you try and recreate it, you try and maybe get there, but maybe you fall short. And it turned out that like many years afterwards, people were still making discoveries, but it was like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, I made a grave discovery. What is it? Oh, I just rediscovered penicillin, you know? It's like, but we've been known about this. It's like our great grandparents were out here like rediscovering shit that was already been known. This is wild. Yeah, I'm like talking about bacteria and shit. You know, so post this, all right? Post, fuck you, dude. I hate that stupid ass attack. Dude, I'm gonna hurt someone. All right, so like I was saying, all right, post this gilded age, you know, obviously we can kind of, I can hope at least, all right, I can hope most of y'all out there are like, yes, Tony, this is goated, you know what I mean? Antibiotics are goated. They are some of one of the greatest inventions to ever exist in humanity. Was something that was able to fight off some of the worst diseases out there, some of the worst infections known to humanity, and we were able to harness these things' potential and power and use them to save lives. Obviously, you would say that's a good thing, that's amazing, all right? However, like most things in this world, it's survival of the fittest. And this is where shit gets wicked. Like most things, it's survival of the fittest, and that, hold on, let me close my door. That leads to like complacency in humans and stuff like that as well. So, bacteria, do you fuck with guac or queso more? I'm gonna with you, I'm a queso guy. I don't really fuck with like avocado like that, except for in like select sushi rolls. But I've never really like had guac like that. Oh, my bad, caught off guard there. But like I was saying, so we had, what's the word I'm thinking of? Expensive as shit too. So eventually if you go to Chipotle, that's one thing I know. I don't go to Chipotle much because like I'd rather just make good Mexican food at home. But one thing I do know, if you go to Chipotle and you get guac, that shit's like arm and a leg. And it's like, what are we doing? You know? Why does this shit cost so much? It can't be that expensive. I know avocados are expensive. It can't be that expensive. But what's the word I'm thinking of? All right, so bacteria, all right, over the years, as we grow and develop these things, antimicrobials, to essentially get their asses, they are organisms. They maybe don't have a drive or a brain to live the same way that people do, but there's obviously a sense in them that is, before I die, I need to spread myself so I can, you know, at least continue living or whatever. And so this is where you end up with new AMRs, which, if you're unaware, AMR is antimicrobial resistance. We start to get new mechanisms of AMRs that includes like mutations in these bacteria that are able to better ward off or fight off antibacteria or something, or bacteria or things like that, or just straight up like transient properties or whatever, you know what I mean, where only in the presence of this does it get this ability, but once that's removed or whatever, it goes back to being kind of normal and shit like that. And I had essentially learned that due to a few key factors, one of them being something that I was aware of due to a northern lion bit, that being the overuse of antibacteria or antimicrobials in farm animals and such, had led to essentially a large uptake, a large increase in resistance, because, you know, when you expose them to something for so long and they have this like urge, this need to live, to exist, they start to fucking pick up on the tricks, you know? And it's kind of crazy that, one, overusing it, or two, which I learned, which I thought was kind of crazy. It makes sense, but I thought it was like, damn, I really didn't know about shit like this. Was if you are sick, you as a person, all right, viewer at home, if you are sick and you get an infection, you go to the doctor, they're like, here you go, take some of this. It's what's it called? Take some of this. It's azithromycin. And if you're unaware of how you take a Z-Pack, you take 2 pills on the first day, and then the remaining 4 days, you just take 1 pill every day. Say by day 3, you start to feel a little bit better, and you're like, I'm good now. I don't have to take my antibiotics anymore. You done fucked up. Well, not only have you hurt yourself, you've also hurt society as a whole. Because now that it's supposed to work over the course of 5 days, you decided, let me cut it short a day because I feel good. Guess what? Whatever slightly remaining living bacteria that were going to die, you just gave them an extra, you know, a new lease on life. Because now they're not completely all wiped out. But not only that, they also have a resistance, or they can potentially get a resistance to this bacteria or this antibacteria you just exposed them to, because they're like, I'm gonna say this, it's gonna sound stupid as fuck, but it's unironically real. Like, you literally microdosed bullets to them, bro. It's that one king who was like, oh, in order to stop myself from being poisoned, I'm just gonna microdose poison over the course of many years. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh shit, they got my ass, let me kill myself with poison. Oh, it doesn't do anything because I'm fucking used to it. That's a fool card. I thought that was a strength card. It's literally that. You're doing that dude, that king, to these fucking bacterias, and they're gonna come back stronger. But not only that, now you also have this stronger bacteria in your system. You can now spread it to other people as well, giving these other people that like fucking tier 2 bacteria, bro. You see where I'm coming from here? Do y'all see now where I'm coming from when it comes to this AMR and shit like that? It's crazy, because I was unfamiliar with some of these things, but learning about it was just like, man, this is like a breadth of knowledge I never would have sought out solo bolo, but knowing about it is very interesting, and like genuinely, at least to me, genuinely really fucking helpful, useful. Me personally, I've already been in like this pharmaceutical industry, so I'm aware of, obviously, you want to take your meds. But I didn't know something as simple as, oh, maybe I'll just skip the last day, or I'm feeling better, let me just stop taking it altogether, could just straight up lead to some crazy shit down the line and whatnot. It's... the door open? Oh, the bottom one. It's just kind of like, what's the word I'm thinking of, bro? Insane, I guess you would call it. And so because of that, because of things like that, there's also like this development, or maybe not development, maybe it's something that's been there for a bit, but this like agency, or not agency, but like a system out there to essentially get people to take their antibiotics in the most optimal way possible so we can fight off the rise of antimicrobial resistance. Because I read this and it had stated that estimates predict roughly 10 million deaths a year because of antimicrobial resistance if it's not like if no intervention happens. If no intervention happens, you can roughly see an estimated probably 10 million deaths a year due to bacteria and the fact that they just got way more resistant to the shit. Way more resistant to like their poison that would kill them. Now, granted, obviously, I think there is like an uptick in intervention. Maybe not as much as should probably exist, but still, it's just crazy stat, bro. You feel me? Crazy stat. I never would have thought it, bro. That's the way I feel about all this shit. All right, you know what I mean? This is that knowledge that like you never would have thought about. It might make sense given the info presented, but it's not something that you, I guess, would have just, oh, epiphany moment. Oh shit. Maybe the overprescription of antibiotics and misuse of antibiotics, as long as using it in things like farm animals, because we're all like an interconnected system, you know what I mean? Even though you might not think it, the farm animals get the bacterial resistance, we eat the fucking food, we eat the farm animal, you know, like we're all interconnected, bro. And so having this moment is just like crazy. All right, let me do the outro now. Anyways, want to thank y'all for watching. If you guys did enjoy, greatly appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good day and or good night, depending on, you know, what time we're doing this. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace out.